there are some matchups where you really need a different rune, and I would say Syndra is probably one of them. So I don't know if you've ever used Spellbook, because it's kind of a confusing rune, to be honest. I actually made a video on it like 2 days ago. But the real nice thing about Spellbook in difficult matchups is that when you hit level 6, you can swap to something like Barrier or Heal or something, and that allows you to survive these champs that are like, electrocute, ignite, like really hard to survive against. So yeah, I guess what I'll do is I'll like note that down. I'll try to focus more on the gameplay stuff, but it might be something we kind of have to talk about at the end. You can still see my screen, right?
Yep.
So this is room slash items. So I think, yeah, probably Spellbook is better than Electrocute in hard matchups. But yeah, I guess we'll talk about that a little more at the end. Otherwise, everything else looks like fairly normal. I'm not seeing any like out of control builds. So yeah, let's into this.
I try to itemize with what I know, but I pretty only know some of the heroes and what they do.
Yeah,
Like the main thing, so I kind of have to guess like what would be good.
yeah, fair enough. Okay, now this one actually is more important. So when you're like for your starting item, your choices are like Doran's Ring and Corrupting Potion. Those are basically your two. Now, if you're verse, so verse like easy matchups or like all-in matchups, you want Doran's Ring, and the reason is that Doran's Ring, it's obviously better for playing aggressive, like it gives you HP, or yeah, it gives you HP and it gives you AP, which is like really nice for playing aggressive, and it's sort of helpful in some all-in matchups, just, yeah, because of the more HP. But the problem is, when you're versus like a poke champion like Syndra, it provides so much less sustain than Corrupting Pot, it's not really worth it. So versus like hard matchups or like poke matchups, you really need Corrupting Pot. Otherwise, it's like really hard to survive. And also, Corrupting Potion has really good synergy with TP, because obviously you can just like buy it, use them all up, and then like base and TP back, and then you're in a really good spot. And like the thing with Veigar is you just need to not lose the early game, and then you're probably more useful than your opponent. So even though some champions would be like, okay, maybe I'm like neutering my early game a little bit by going this, I think it's really, really good on Veigar. And even on champions that need to pressure a lot early, a lot of the time they will go Corrupting Potion versus something like Syndra. So I think your setup has made it like a little difficult for yourself, but it's definitely like playable still, right? It's just maybe.
Okay.
It's also kind of good, I think, to have setup problems, because you can just like fix that real easily.
Yeah, that does seem like low-hanging fruit then, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just switch it up and
I've
then.
started to experiment with using Corrupting Potion. The reason that I usually don't take it is because the starting AP.
Yeah, like the last
Uh,
hitting and stuff.
yeah, so I was like afraid because I'm like kind of used to less hitting with
Yeah.
Doran's Ring, so then I like miss it by
Yeah,
4
I mean,
HP.
I could definitely see that. At the same time, though, AP is sort of like less valuable on Veigar in a way, because he just gets so much anyway, right? Like it's a stat he can get really easy, whereas he can't get sustained very easily, because you just get so much free AP from your passive anyway that, like, yeah, you don't really need to worry about like not having AP super early. Okay, and your verse Master Yi's probably fine. Okay, so this is one thing I'd be like a little careful of. So most mages kind of want to push early game, and the reason is that like if we'll say you're like something like Syndra, you can pressure your opponent pretty heavily under their tower. You can really punish like level 2 versus level 1. If you hit level 2 first, like she's gonna be a lot stronger than you. And also they just have like a bit more control over the lane than you do, because they have like a bit more wave clear. They can kind of decide if the wave crashes or not. The problem for you is that pushing this wave, it doesn't actually really do anything for you. The problem is, like, you can't harass Syndra under tower, really, because, like, your Q is too short range. And you're not strong enough over Syndra that you can just, like, force her off the wave or anything. So, I think all this kind of pushing the wave does for you is make you, like, unsafe, basically. It makes you, like, unsafe to ganks. It makes it way easier for Syndra to trade onto you, and it's going to make it more difficult for you to farm. So what I would like recommend as like your early game kind of like wave control as Veigar would be to like keep the wave, Quick wave in the middle or on your side, pretty much as you can. Because I think, yeah, just like as a weak early game champ, if you're pushed up here, it's really tough because you're just not really strong enough to fight up here in the lane. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I used to just never hit unless I last hit, but then I kept getting shoved into my own tower.
Yeah, you don't
But
really... Yeah, ideally you want to like here if you can. So you kind of like want to match their push, or even in the middle is fine. But I just think like the further it gets to her side, the like scarier it becomes. Now you get a little lucky here 'cause she like fights you in the creep wave. And honestly, it would probably still be fine if you had corrupting. But okay, she's actually gonna push it back to you, so maybe you're fine. But maybe in some other games, like they would let you push and then you just end up like kind of
I
far.
agree with that, and I actually think that I do pretty good if like they're not pushing, then I don't. But
Okay.
I find at least in this elo they usually do. So then
Yeah.
I feel like, oh, then I'm too far behind. I didn't try to do anything, and so now like I'm cut on my tower and I miss CS.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at... Like, I think this is a pretty nice spot to be in anyway. You've still got, like, a lot of HP, a lot of mana. Oh, another thing, actually, is that I just thought of is don't be afraid to take, like, early game runes on Veigar to help you get through the early game, sort of, you know what I mean? Like, even though you're a scaling champion, you scale so well that you can take some early game runes to, like, make that difficult early game better. So what I'll actually do is at the end of the session, I'm just going to write rune pages in big letters. I'll come back and we'll go through all like the runes and different stuff you can take for different matchups. Because I think you can optimize the runes quite a bit. Okay, nice cage. I like that. Okay, he's just fighting you in a giant creep wave. That's pretty nice.
I often take bone plating
Yeah.
against like any Yasuo Yon type, which are common. But I didn't really know Silas or this Syndra too well. So I thought it would be a mage battle where I'd hit her a lot with the Q. That's why I thought.
Yeah, Syndra's just kind of... Syndra's really good at bullying other mages. This is like kind of unfortunate timing. You probably just like weren't super aware of this, but like Rengar's pinging that he's on the way mid, so you probably just like want to make sure you hold your E here until like Rengar's closer, because you end up using it really early, and then like Rengar's not quite here, and then you don't have it. So that's probably a kill. I feel like if... Yeah, I think that's probably a kill if you have your cage there. So that's kind of unfortunate timing, but it's not the end of the world. Oh, you might just kill her here anyway.
I don't remember. Oh yeah, I think I did get her.
Oh my god, nice. Okay, I don't know how Veigar solo kills Syndra, but hey, you've made it. Alright, see. Ward, base, what do you buy? Okay, so how much gold do you have? 870. So what I would probably buy here is, I think I would go probably Dark Seal boots. Yeah, I think I'd go Dark Seal boots. So I don't know if you buy Dark Seal, but Dark Seal is actually an insane item. Let me see if I can bring it up. It's like absurdly gold efficient. Even when you buy it, it's like already efficient. So it's like, yeah, so when you buy it, its base stats are already gold efficient, and if you fully stack it, it's worth like so much more than what it costs. So if you're a mage, you pretty much always want to buy a Dark Seal at some point early in the game. Like, I don't know if you do this other games or not, but I would say here...
If I get it, I usually get it after Everfrost.
Okay, yeah, I think that's like pretty late. Normally you want
Too
it
late.
sort of early, and like it's fine to delay Everfrost by like a little bit for the chance basically at just having so much more snowball potential. Like obviously again, AP isn't as valuable on Veigar, but at the same time, it's just so many free stats for just like so little that it's almost always worth it. But I like all the rest of the buys here, so it's pretty nice. Actually, depending on how hard you felt like your matchup is, you might want to change this to Ruby Crystal, like just for more health. I think here, like she's already died and she's bought a tier, so you don't really need it. But if you felt like your matchup was going to be hard, then you could just like buy, yeah, Ruby Crystal and then build that into Everfrost, you know, later, obviously.
Yeah, okay, I never do that.
Yeah, okay, because again, like the whole thing with Veigar, and it's the same when you play like Kassadin or something, is you pretty much just need to survive lane, and if you're even, let alone like a little bit behind, you'll be winning. Like normally, yeah, I'd say Veigar. If Veigar's down, or like 10 CS to Syndra, still in a pretty good spot. And I mean here, it's like you've got a solo kill and you're ahead, so you're in an amazing spot already. There's not a whole lot you can do other than just farm creeps. I think you should have like a bigger focus on making sure you're last hitting creeps with Q. Like obviously you can't get all of them with Q, right? But like what a lot of Veigars will do is like, okay, so right now this is fine. Maybe here though, they would focus on like ordering that back one a bit lower before queuing it. And then especially these ones, when they're uncontested, there's not really an excuse for kind of like missing these with Q. You know, like you can easily, like she's not fighting you anymore, so you can set these up however you like to make sure you hit them. Because like that one's another like AP lost, and I think it's the same with this one. Yeah, so I think maybe having a pretty big focus on getting more Q stacks is important. Nice though, you get a good punish. Okay, you walked into the cage. Love that. Yeah, this is all fine. I think also at this point, you can probably, if you wanted, you could probably just like W the range creeps and then like Q to last hit them. Like while you're setting up these, you could probably just like drop a W on these right now. And that would just like set it up a little bit easier for you. I mean, it still works out, right? So it's fine. You're gonna base. How much gold do you have? Okay, not too much. Buy another amped home, which I think is fine. Still have TP, which is nice.
That's something that oh, that's probably a question to ask you. Is a lot of times I think I don't need a TP because I pushed it far enough, but yet I missed some creeps there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And maybe I need to figure out like how much do I need the creeps to push before I feel like it's safe enough.
Yeah, well I think, okay, probably the reason that this ended up happening was more that you pushed the wave too slow. So here, you kind of know that Syndra's going to base, because she's like half HP, like really low mana. She just can't really stay, right? So that means like Syndra will be recalling and trying to get back as quick as possible, which means you sort of also want to push this as quick as possible so you can reset. But it honestly gets pushed kind of slow. Like because, you know, you could say W these range creeps now, or you could even W the melees if you wanted, just to kind of speed it up. And there's like time here where you're not really auto-attacking anything. Again, because like you're trying to wait for these to get low. But you could be auto-attacking those in the meantime. And like, yeah, the W never gets used. And so the problem is, rather than this wave going like all the way under, what ends up happening is like, now it's in like this awkward spot here. So it's not like fully bouncing. And then, yeah, honestly, I don't think you really need a TP. Like you lose what? 3... 4. I mean, you get the XP for it. I think TPing for like 3 or 4 creeps is not normally worth it. Having TP on Veigar is kind of like it's almost like an insurance policy. You know, it's like if you die or if your lane starts going bad, you can TP back and just kind of fix it for you or fix it for yourself.
Yeah,
that way you don't like lose too much.
I always messed up.
Yeah, okay. Is pretty low. I think at this point, once you get to like level 7 or so, definitely the way you start playing your lane is just on every wave, W these range creeps and Q them. Because that way, at least you guarantee stacks on the range creeps, and also it pressures her a lot, because she's going to be like forced further and further back. Because like this kind of doesn't really make sense. Like here, you're so much stronger than her. You're like level 7 versus level 6. You're full HP versus her like really low on HP, but she is the one that's like controlling the wave. So I would say here your choices are like, you can either just like walk up to her and E her if you wanted, but I would probably just like W these from range and Q them, because if you just give her this control, she's just going to be able to reset for free, which, yeah, it's kind of bad. You don't really want to be letting her reset. Okay, nice cage.
What would you call that? Like just being like more aggressive?
Yeah, I think it's like, the way I'd think about it is be like, okay, maybe you need to start like recognizing advantages. So the advantages you have here is like level advantage, so you're 7 versus 6. You have item advantage, I'd say, like, let's look. Yeah, like if you just like look at how much gold has been spent, this is like 435, 435, 400, 300. So you're what, like 1500 gold or something here spent. and she's at 400, 400, and 300. So she's got, what, 1100? Which is, like, significantly less than you. So just in terms of combat stats, like, you have a lot more. I mean, look at your AP, 115 compared to her 15. It's crazy, right? Like, you're just gonna do... Yeah, well, I mean, obviously Veigar gets a lot extra, but her only AP is from this. I don't know, what does she have here? 2 magic resist shards.
A mage too.
Yeah.
She's not, though, I guess.
Well, like, yeah, she should get AP, but she just doesn't have it yet, right? Like, she doesn't have any... I don't know why she doesn't have... She should have at least 24 AP, like another 9 from her rune here, but I don't know why she doesn't have it. But anyway, it's like, okay, at the very max, she can have like 30 AP here, and you just have so much more at this point. So, yeah, it's like you've got an item advantage, so you've just like spent more gold. You also have like an insane HP advantage. I mean, just like, look at this. You're like full health, she's half health. There's no way she can quite kill you, and you're like very, very close to killing her. So, yeah, I think you can be way more aggressive on that wave. This, I mean, it's close. You can kill her here anyway, but like you also, because you wait so long, she actually hits level 7. So she goes from, what is this, 550 HP all the way up to 640. So now you need to do like 100 more damage. I mean, you can still kill her, but it's getting harder, right? And then I'm here. So you hit that.
Missed her though at the end, I think.
Yeah, I think honestly, rather than queuing, you should just auto attack her. Yeah, like I think if you just auto, she dies, but I don't really mind stuff like that because it's just like a mechanical misplay, and obviously it matters, but it's not as important as just having like better game knowledge at this point. Okay, see base. I lost chapter. How much other gold? 70. Okay, TP. Hey, nice cage. Dude, he just keeps walking into them. I love him.
That makes it easier for sure if they do that, but they don't always.
Yeah, like this is good aggression. Like I think you realize here that it's pretty difficult for her to play the game, right? Like this is like the same kind of thing as before. You have a big item advantage, level 8 versus level 7, higher HP than her. She doesn't have flash. And she just used stun. It's like a million things that you have in your favor here. And you just like walk up to her and kill her, right? Yeah, nice. That's good. Shove this.
Shut down.
Kindle gem. Yeah, nice. Getting good CS now. Nice ward as well. Okay, this... Yeah, I think this is pretty big. So, when you want to, like, do something from mid, like if you want to base, or roam, or ward, or anything like that, you kind of need mid priority to do it first. Because if you don't have mid priority, you're going to lose something while you're doing it. Like, if you're... You know, if you're... well, actually, let's just see it right here. So, what happens is, like... You haven't pushed this wave first, which means that no matter what happens, Syndra can like push this wave under, and there's not much you can do about it. Now, if you decide to ward, then what you should at least do is walk back to this before you lose this wave, because if you like stay here and do like crab, or yeah, like do damage to it, all that means is like, yeah, now this wave is like sort of fucked, because it's just like under your tower, right? But it should be... Like, you're 2-0 and Syndra's 0-2, so you should be able to get control of these mid waves now. But she's the one getting them. So, a good habit, I think, to get into, like, this is definitely low-hanging fruit, is pretty much always push mid before moving. Wait, what did I just write? Push mid, and then move. That's, like, the play. Just push mid, and then move. Or if you want to, like, base, try and, like, push mid, and then base. Or if you want to ward, like, push mid, and then ward. Just because having that like time after you push a wave is so important to just make sure that you don't really like lose anything.
Yeah, great. Makes sense.
Okay, and another thing here, this is Veigar specific, but most Veigar is actually max E now instead of W second. And the reason is that while W goes up in damage, it's only 50 per rank, which is not like an insane amount of damage. But the thing with E is the stun duration goes up, like you can see here, it goes up by a lot, from 1.5 seconds all the way up to 2.5. And also the cooldown goes down, which is really, really important. So yeah, it's like, in my opinion, just way better to max E second over W, because you don't really need more damage. Like a lot of the time as Veigar, you will overkill your opponents anyway. And just having the longer stun cooldown is so nice for your team. So let's put a little Veigar specific down here to max like R, Q, E, W. Just max W last, basically. Veigar did used to max W second, or at least put a couple points in it just to make wave clearing easier, but you also kind of don't want it, right? Like if you think of this, for example, if you only have 1 point in W, then your W might leave these on 1 HP and you can just Q them. But if you put all your points in W, then your W just kills them and you never get to stack Q on them. So it's not as good as you think.
The reason I take 3 on there, I just take 3 on there and then I get...
And then you max E? Yeah.
But because then I can just clear that part of the wave.
Yeah.
You're right. Like, I probably don't want to.
Yeah. I mean, it can be kind of nice for melees. Like, if you W these and Q them straight after, it can be kind of nice. But, yeah. I mean, there was a time as well where Veigar just put 2 points in W, like you're kind of saying. But, yeah, I don't think it's really, like, super what you want anymore. Yeah, this is, like, kind of minor, but if you can, like, try to remember to use, like, your potion while you're fighting. I swear this is, like, so nitpicky, though, that you've got, like, much bigger issues to work on, you know? I wouldn't worry too much about that at the moment. Okay. I mean, you're 3-0, so you're doing pretty well. Everfrost. Okay, we're going Mercs. I like that. Looks pretty good against the team.
Yeah, but now I believe things start going bad, so we'll see what... I would say it's pretty typical, actually, where, like, I usually do seem to win the lane part, and then we lose the game.
That's interesting, because I swear it's like the opposite of what Veigar normally does, you know? Okay, so let's have a look at, like, kind of this, like, random little bit here, because this is, like, kind of bad. So, a habit you kind of need to get into eventually is, well, there's, like, 2 things. The first is that when you come back to lane, it's actually one of the most common times to get ganked, like when you first come, or whenever you come back to lane. And the reason is that when you come back to lane, that's normally the time before you're able to get vision down, like before you can place your wards. So if you just like look at the map right now, it's like, well, we saw Yi, but like no vision bot side and no vision top side, and your jungler is like fighting bot. So that means this is like the scariest possible time to do something, because you just have like no vision and you have no help. So the way you're kind of positioning here is like you have the biggest dick in the world right now. Like you think you can fight anyone on the map if you do this. But the problem is, like, Yi's right there, and even though you live, this is like pretty bad, because it means that you either just have to sit under your tower and AFK farm, even though you're like 3-0 and you want to be doing stuff, or you just like have to base, and then you like lose farm time, right? And I guess actually you end up dying. Okay, you managed to live, so that's great, but...
Very little.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Like a minion's, like, shot.
Yeah, how low were you, actually? You're like... Oh, you had 50 HP. Oh, 27 after the creep auto. Damn. Yeah, that's pretty close. Okay, so this would be, like... Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a thing when you're normally laning to kind of check for no vision, but especially when you come back to lane, like, check if you have vision or not. Because I think that's like a really common timing, and also it's almost the worst time to die, because you just come out of base, instantly like die or have to reset, but you don't actually have any gold to do anything with it. So yeah,
that is true. That was sad.
Yeah, your tower actually lost a lot of health for that, so that kind of sucks. This guy looks dead. Okay. Yeah, so kind of same thing here. I don't really like this, and the reason is that it's not, you haven't pushed mid first. So like you've pushed mid right now, but when you're like making a play from mid, like if you're trying to roam somewhere, you need to look at where the next wave is, because the problem is by the time you're leaving mid, like by the time you're in this bush, the next wave is already here. So you're kind of too late to do something with this wave. A good like rule I like to use is when I'm leaving mid, if I want to like fully roam to another lane, I want this wave to be like back here, like just passing my tier 3 tower. So
Okay.
doing this, it's like, if you just wanted to ward and then come back mid, you have time. But if you walk all the way down here like this, the problem is that, sure, at most you get, what, like 300 gold, right? That's what you get. But in return, you lose a wave, which is 150, and you lose a tower, which is 300 to him and to his team. So even though you got a kill, it was actually not worth it. And I think as well, Veigar probably gets this kill without you. Although,
Yeah.
does he? He doesn't have ult. Okay, yeah, maybe he wouldn't get it without you. So, I mean, it was a good outcome. But the fact that it's a good outcome and it was, like, still not worth it for you means that's pretty bad. So, yeah, just really try to get into that habit of pushing and, like, really paying attention to the mid wave because that's, like, yeah, all your golden XP. I mean, you're 4-0. So it looks kind of good. Now, okay, this could be risky, but I think it turns out not to be. So again, if you just like pause right now and you kind of like looked at the map, like no vision bot side, no vision top side, and you have no flash, and you're like under the enemy's tower. So this is, you're kind of asking to die right now. But it looks like you get away with it. But things like this are what will lose you games, because if you die, you give over so much gold right now. So you really gotta try and avoid that sort of situation. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't usually think about my own bounty much, but I know it. Like I get mad when other people do it. So I gotta think about it.
That's funny. That's very aware. I like that. Okay. Push wave. So yeah, like same thing for like the millionth time. It's pretty scary to do this without vision. Like if you're going to do this, at least like, you know, ward up here or something before. And if you don't have a ward, then you're probably better off just like, you know, maybe you go do blue, or maybe you do raptors, or honestly, you could even like walk down river and just like wait. Because I think this, you don't really get much out of this. Like all you're doing is hitting the tower, and it's just putting you at kind of pretty high risk, honestly. Like, if the jungler's here, I think you're gonna die, but...
I'm pretty sure I die very soon trying to kill this tower.
Yeah, I kind of hope you do, so you learn the lesson, you know? Because if I'm saying it and you're getting away with it, it feels like you're not actually getting punished for it.
Yeah, I think
Okay, well, this... I think he kind of died to just something else. Like, this was kind of... I think you just, like, overstayed for the tower a bit. Like, you could probably cage here and just, like, finish ordering it and get out, but... Yeah, honestly, I think if you ever frosted and caged, you could probably get yourself out here. But yeah, it's a pretty bad death. It's a lot of gold over to Misfortune. Okay, going private on second. Take that. Nice. This guy's dead too. Nice. Good cage as well. Okay, yeah, I think he played that pretty well. Okay, so what are you building? This is... I'm not even sure what you're building. Let me check your PGG.
that was Cosmic Drive.
Oh, okay.
I just felt like I needed extra speed because I got caught that time.
Yeah, I think that... So...
Well, and I had like 850 gold instead of 1250.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that it's pretty damn important that you go Rabbit on second on this champ, because obviously like you have so much AP, but also just because like Veigar kind of struggles to keep farming in the mid game, because Veigar is like not a champ that's particularly good at side laning. Like it's quite difficult to just like farm up a storm in the side lane or farm jungle camps a lot. So a lot of the time as Veigar, you will get your 2 items and then all your gold after that, well, not all your gold, but a lot of your gold will come from like kills and stuff instead, right? So getting the 2 items quick is like really important, and then after that you kind of build cheaper items. You know, you might build like tank items and stuff. So for your items this game, I'd probably go, I think like Everfrost, obviously like your boots in here somewhere, like Everfrost / boots, both of those at the same time, and then, or you can even go Everfrost and then boots if you wanted. Then I would go Rabadons, and after that, I'd probably go either Zhonya's or like Randuin's or something. You know, like some kind of armor item. But you should already have the damage you need by then. So buying this, I don't really think it helps you, honestly. Like, I mean, having more movement speed is nice, but the problem is it delays your other item spikes by 850 gold, you know? I can kind of sympathize with the, like, you base and you don't quite have enough gold for Rod, and that sucks. But at the same time, you have TP, so, like, even though you have awkward gold, like, one way to use TP is to just, you know, you can, like, come onto the map, farm whatever you need to, and then make sure you base TP before a fight starts to, like, spend all your gold. So I think this is kind of bad, honestly. It feels like a nice optimization, but I think it hurts you, like, more than it, I don't know, helps you. Okay. Okay, so this is the kind of time where you might want to go to the side lane. So in the mid game, if you can, you want to try not to share too much gold and XP with your AD carry, because like you both need like gold and XP a lot, and right now you're sharing it. So what you normally want to do is, if you have TP up, you can feel pretty comfortable going to the side lane. So if we look right now, it's like you can either go bot or you can go top. I don't think you want to be bot, because Gangplank is already going there. So what I would probably do is, I think I would just go top now. Now, maybe you feel like scared of going top, but I think as long as you like place vision, you know, like it looks like Lulu's kind of warning for you right now. I think if you were top, like you can't push the wave all the way to the tower. Like Veigar's not that kind of champion that can go that far up, but you can at least farm, you know, waves up to kind of this like halfway point, I would say. Like up to the river, I suppose. I guess we're like in the mid game, so I'll start writing about it. But I think mid game, like try keep farm up, try not to share golden XP with the ADC, and yeah, try farm side waves up until the river at least, especially if you have TP up. Yeah, because you can always get back. Because this kind of this thing right here, we sort of like run in a circle. This is like a big waste of time, and you're not really like getting any gold. It looks kind of dumb when you like look at this in a replay, but you know, I've done shit like this before as well, when I'm just like not really sure what to do. But obviously it's like a big waste of time, and you could be, you know, that's like a lot of gold up there that you could grab. Yeah, so all this, just this ARAM, it's not really the best. What you want to do is push this wave, and then you can come ARAM. You just want to make sure the wave is like dead before you do this, because at least then you like got all the farm you could, and then you kind of came back to the ARAM, you know? But here, like the gold is just bleeding on the side. And like, you also had lots of time. Like, you definitely could have gone top and killed it, and then come back mid. Okay. Ashe is so broken. I hate Ashe.
That's
Dang, the cage, the Everfrost.
This and everything.
Happens. Okay.
Like, I play with my brother, and he plays like usually a jungle tank, so that's like, okay, now I know when to engage. But like in a team comp like this, I was like, I felt like I have to be making things happen because nobody can start anything.
Yeah, I think like most of the way this starts is honestly they're going to engage onto you, and you just kind of need to kite back. Like your team doesn't really need to engage. You have like Gangplank, Caitlyn, Lulu, so most of the time you're going to be kiting back. I think your job here is probably just to like survive the engage. I actually think what you did here was pretty good. Like we just like, obviously she just ends up dying, but I think placing a cage in front of Caitlyn and kind of trying to win the fight like that is probably the thing you do. I think your team just kind of trolls you a bit here, but at the same time you've like lost a lot of your carry potential, because you're starting to fall kind of far behind in CS, at least compared to like the game time. Like obviously you're ahead of Syndra, but you don't have like that great CS for this time, and also like you've maxed W instead of E. We don't quite have the rabbit on, so we're just kind of like falling behind, I guess, in ways that aren't that obvious. You know what I mean? It's like you're just not quite as strong as you should be. Okay.
thing about Ashe too is like, I feel like you're always half health.
Yeah,
She just poked you.
it is so annoying. I
And
actually
I never
can't
like
wait for
being
that
half
chance.
health as Veigar.
Yeah, you get really short range, just walk up and die. What do we got now? Yeah, so we're still not at Rabadon's at like 24 minutes. This is quite slow, by the way. Like because Everfrost is like a relatively cheap item, even though Rabadon's is pretty expensive, you should be able to get it at like, I don't know, I would say by 20 minutes. Even if you don't have like a lot of kills. Oh, and obviously here you have 5 kills, so you could probably get it earlier.
Yeah, that's how I kind of decided to. If I have it in 20, I feel good. But it's kind of rare to get it at 20, even though
Yeah.
I'm not that good, so.
It's all good, it's all good. Okay, pushing the side. I mean, this is good. Like, at least you're getting some farm on the side lane. Engage mid. You guys kill Yi. Fine. That guy just kind of dies. Okay, you get out. Oh my god. They're gonna delete Ashe soon, I hope.
Is she that? Like.
Yeah, she's like really broken in high rank as well at the moment because she's like real strong in lane and her ult just has like no cooldown, so it just gets spammed. And also it's really easy to play, I swear. It's like not... It's not like a high elo only pick. It's just broken and everything at the moment. I hate it.
I've seen a lot of it recently. I don't know if she got buffed a lot.
I think it just became meta. I don't remember her getting a buff. It might be... I think the reason maybe it became meta is because I think originally like Heimerdinger got buffed to support, and then like Ashe kind of became a Heimer counter, and then people realized Ashe was just broken as well. Okay, yeah, like okay, stuff like this, you should definitely be able to kill this guy with just your ult by now. So the fact that you like can't kill him means you're just pretty weak, you know, and it's going to be hard to carry games if you're weak like this. It's actually weird because you're 5-1, but your items are just so delayed. It's like 27 minutes and we still don't have Rabadons when we can get it just a lot earlier than that. This death, I mean, it's kind of whatever. I actually don't really care about this. Like, I kind of feel like most of the game should just be, you know, figuring out how you can get to kind of that 2-item spike quite a bit earlier. Because you just went from, I think, 400 AP to almost 700. So that's a ridiculous amount of damage you just got. If, like, you get that earlier, it's even better. Okay, so this team fight does look pretty important. Looks like you guys win it, but okay, so normally when you're playing Veigar in team fights, you're just kind of like looking to kind of cage people and stuff, right? But one thing you might want to start thinking about is like who the most important target is. So like team fight target priority, I think is like really important because at least for your ult, you know, like making sure you ult and like get on the right person. Now here you used ult on Yi, which is good, but I think this time spent chasing the Ashe is kind of a waste of time, honestly. I think if you go right now and you just like walk in here, try and like cage and just like Q ult the Yi, you win the fight just like faster and cleaner. Like chasing Ashe, it's almost a waste of time. Like she doesn't really... Ashe doesn't really carry fights. She like carries before the fight, you know? So here, I think Yi is like probably the most important person, and then maybe like Syndra MF. So if you can like find them earlier in the fight, it's really good. Just kind of one-shots you, I guess. Yeah, I kind of...
Definitely surprised me, but...
Yeah, I guess here you just need to like cage or Everfrost a bit earlier. One thing you actually might consider, by the way, is that if you don't feel comfortable like remembering to use Everfrost, like you can just go like Crown or Rod of Ages. Both of those are really good items on Veigar as well. And
is Rod good? Because yeah, I wasn't sure.
yeah, it's good, but it's definitely like it slows down the game a bit, you know? Like it requires you to scale more, but it is, in my opinion, easier to play. Because you'll be tankier, and Catalyst is a great laning item. Like it makes it really hard for you to get poked out, and it gives you more AP, so it is kind of nice. But Everfrost also is really nice for just like helping hit your like your W and your cages and stuff. But I don't know, it's kind of up to you, because I would say that Everfrost is probably better if you're really good with it, But at the same time, like if you wanted to just focus on like, you know, you don't really want to focus on figuring out the items and you just want to learn the game instead, then it might be better to do something else just to kind of like simplify it for you. But at the same time, I don't know how many games of Veigar you've played. If you always run Everfrost, you might just want to stay on Everfrost. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I usually use it okay. The problem is, like, I couldn't find a button I wanted to put it on, so I put it on a mouse button.
Oh yeah, I respect that.
I think I'm okay with it, honestly, but sometimes...
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'd stick to it then.
Trying to bounce away.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I actually kind of like the positioning at the moment. Maybe this is not that great. So, like, okay, the start of this is pretty psychotic. So, normally when you're playing Veigar in team fights, you kind of want to be behind your front line. Now, here it's sort of unlucky because you don't really have a front line. Like, you don't have a tank. But let's say your tankiest member is probably GP. So if you can, like, be with him or behind him, that's a lot better. Like, the way you're playing now is kind of like look at this. Let's go all vision. You are actually 1v4ing them right now while your team is like really far back. So the fact that you don't die for that, it's pretty lucky as a start. But yeah, you're just like way too far up. I think just try and play a bit further back and just like if they engage on your GP, then you can cage for him rather than being the one to start the fight with a cage. Because normally it's actually kind of hard to start fights with cage because you're so short range. So it's normally like a counter engage or just like dropping it in the middle of the fight, kind of. You just sort of get one shot, but yeah, no, I actually think all these deaths are, I mean, they're avoidable, but I don't think they're super like impactful in a way. Like I think they're almost like a product of how the game has gone. You know, like you could have won earlier if you didn't let Syndra get this fed, if you didn't kind of like throw your lead by not really like getting a lot done and itemizing bad, like that sort of stuff. And also, I mean, it is just a hard game because they have a lot of range, which is sort of difficult for you. Also, let me check your runes. Like, I have a feeling Electrocute did very little. Yeah, 740. Not very great. Okay, so the game's over. Let's quickly talk about, like, what stuff I think you should work on, and then let's, like, talk about, like, runes and stuff. So, I think probably biggest things I would say is first, like, the push and move thing. So push and then move. And the reason I think this is really important is because at the moment, you do give up quite a lot of random CS, I think, from just, like, leaving the wave at wrong times. So almost always, like, yeah, try not to move for, like, pushing the wave and really, like, pay attention, I guess, to mid-wave at all times because that's, like, where all your gold and XP comes from. Next thing I would probably say, well, I'll put rune slash optimization, but we'll come back to that. What else do we got here? I think, yeah, probably like recognizing advantages and just like, you know, all the different things like cooldowns, health, what was it, level, item. There's like a lot of different advantages you can have over your opponent, and the more of them you have, like the better. And that means like when you do get those, like try play more aggressive and especially like get control of the wave if you can. I'd also say at like level 7 plus, like normally you try just like W the range creeps and then CS them with Q. I think a lot of the time you like your CSing with Q just could improve. Right now I feel like you don't CS that many creeps with Q. Just like a more average amount, I suppose. And that could definitely be a lot higher, I think. What else? And then, oh yeah, maybe like checking to see if you have vision or not is pretty important, especially when you come back to lane. And then, okay, in the mid-game stuff, so mid-game, I would say mainly it's like trying to farm sideways. You don't have to farm sideways all the time, but you do need to farm them at least some of the time. You know, like you could say clear this wave here, and then like if Gangplank weren't running top, you could run there. Now I remember all these ones were fine because like Caitlyn's bot, Gangplank's top, but you just want to, again, it's like the same thing as like in the early game. You want to pay attention to those waves. In this case, it'll be the side wave, and just see if you can get like the CS or not. And also just like make use of TP, because if you're just A-ramming mid, your TP's not getting you any use anyway. And that's maybe something we'll talk about up here with the spellbook thing. So mid game. Yeah, and I guess like maybe the very last thing is the target priority. Again, it only happened once, so it's like hard to know. But I think just like trying to think about like who the most important target is before the fight. So who is most important before the fight, and then making sure you're focusing on that person. So you have quite a lot of stuff here that I think is good. I guess if I were to like tier list this for you and like what's most important, like runes and itemization should be first, then pushing and moving. I'd actually say farming with W and Q should be a bit higher. Maybe checking to see if you have vision should also be pretty high. Yeah, so I think I would say that's like a fairly decent order, like if you want to go down one at a time and kind of work on them. Yeah, so I guess we'll go to the runes and items and stuff, but do you have any questions about any of this stuff?
Like on the side waves, a lot of
Mhm.
times I go there and then like the ADC comes.
Well,
Because
okay,
I went
yeah.
there because it's nice and open, so then they want to come and it's nice and open. Should I cede it to them, or just take it so that they leave, or what?
Yeah, ideally you should be on the side lane, but just go wherever you can get farm. Like if your ADC comes top or whatever, then you should just go mid. Just try and like keep farming basically. Maybe I'll add that. Just like keep farming. That's really important. Even jungle camps. Like if you can't farm mid or top, come and do raptors or something. You just gotta keep getting gold. Because
When you say, oh yeah,
you
continue,
go.
sorry.
There you go.
So when you TP, like using the TP effectively, do I want to walk to the lane,
Yeah.
kill the creeps, and then base back and then TP back to where we need
Um
to fight? Or do I want to TP to, let's say I'm at bottom and like my ADC is there and the top is just no one's there.
Yeah,
Push
okay.
a bunch
Now,
of
good
creeps.
question. Really good question. So I think the way I kind of see TP, actually, you know what? Let's just like write teleport down here. So teleport, it like gives you permission to side lane, because like what often happens is like you go to the side lane and then your team just like fights without you, right? But while you have TP up, you can always come to the fight. So what I would do, where's that time where you're just like running around? It's like
I
over
remember
here.
when it was, what I was doing, but I don't remember the time.
Yeah, it's like in here somewhere.
Something like that.
Yeah, okay, I think it's... Is it here? Oh no, it must be like before this. I actually don't remember. Is it earlier? Let's find it, because I think it's a pretty good example. Okay, it's definitely later than this. It's like... Whenever MF or Caitlyn comes mid... Must be... Yeah, okay, so it's here. So, I guess after Gangplank recalls. So what I would... Yeah, what I would use my TP for here is like... So you have TP up. I would walk to top lane and I'd farm the wave. And then if you want to base at that point, you can base and then you just walk onto the map. Or if you want to clear that wave, you can then walk back to your team. The time you should use TP is like when a fight starts or when dragon like spawns, but you can't get there in time by walking basically. So just like use TP as like an insurance policy that if something happens, like you can still get back to your team pretty much. Or that's like, okay, gives you permission to side lane, like insurance policy. Or the other way you can use it is after a fight, you can TP to a wave. So let's say, for example, that you end up grouping and fighting dragon. Straight after, if there's like a wave that's under this tower dying, you can just TP to it because you know there's not going to be a fight for a while because the objective just died. And because that allows you to just like get all the farm. So yeah, I'd say those are like the most important ones. Does that sort of help?
Yeah, and I think that's definitely an area where I could use it a lot more. I think I probably don't use it even half of when it's up.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's go to the runes and items. Well, mainly just the runes. We kind of talked about the items. So runes. Okay, so Veigar, honestly, Veigar can run like a million different pages, and most of them are kind of fine. But I would recommend going Inspiration, because I think the tree is better for Veigar. So if we look at what you took this game, You took... Oh, wait, I'm on a level 1 account, so I don't have the runes unlocked. Let me just swap accounts. I actually always forget about that.
Yeah, inspiration's one I never really even looked at.
Yeah, it's a really
I
good
always leave
tree.
the electrocute one up. I sometimes switch Ghost Poro with like eyeball collection, and then the other one I switch a lot, but I never switched electrocute once. I see a lot of people that run Predator, but I don't think I can. I can't think of another button I would put on another
That's
binding
funny.
because I'd have to have 3 binds.
Yeah. Okay. So... Runes. Where are the runes? Okay. So, like the page you ran, which I think was like cheap shot, eyeball, and relentless, I think is what you had. And then
Usually the fast run.
it was like nullifying, transcend. I think you had something like this. And then actually let me check. Did you have okay, and then you had ability haste. Yeah, I like that. So if we like just kind of like look through these runes and like what they do for you. So electrocute is reasonably good because it scales with AP, which is nice, obviously, because you're going to get a lot of it. But cheap shot is honestly kind of useless. Like the damage just doesn't really add up to being anything, and it doesn't really help you in lane. Eyeball, yeah, again, eyeball is not as useful as you'd think because like AP is nice, but just remember that AP is not the most valuable stat on Veigar because you get so much of it already. So normally what Veigar just struggles with is finding other stats, right?
I think I get
Relentless,
Ghost Poro usually,
yeah, well
and
that
that
does the
gives me an
same thing,
extra
right?
like. Oh,
I
well, I
mean,
find it gives me an extra like a warning
yeah,
if
I
I'm not lucky.
suppose, but I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's like that valuable in my mind, and I think, well, I actually like Relentless. I think all of these are actually pretty good, like Treasure Hunter more gold and Genius Hunter for Everfrost cooldown, Relentless for movement speed. Like all those are pretty nice, but in my mind, yeah, in my mind, there's like a better tree than this, and then Nullifying. Nullifying is sort of nice, but I feel like a lot of the time, just by having more sustain from corrupting, you probably won't need Nullifying Orb as much as you do right now. Um, yeah, so what I would probably change to, you have like a few choices. I mean, obviously, if you want, keep running this and it's probably fine. Predator is an option, but I personally wouldn't go Predator. What I would do is I would either go Inspiration and I would choose Spellbook. If you want to learn how to use Spellbook, I think you should take Spellbook. If you just want something you can kind of take and forget about, you should go First Strike because that'll get you gold and you don't really need to think about how to use it. But I do think Spellbook is better if you want to like learn how to use it. What I'll do actually is I'll
I'm
screenshot
okay
these.
with learning how to use it, but like I've never done.
Okay, yeah,
So you
I'll
get
kind of
summoner spells.
yeah. What I'll do is I'll actually just go in a practice tool and quickly show you how it works. Go to P. Just take Spellbook.
Know that if the tables were turned, I would show you no mercy.
Good old ass Veigar. I'm on like the Veigar mains Reddit, and I think people said this one's good because like the way his E is, like you
Yeah,
can
it's
see
like
it.
hard to see. It's actually real annoying. It's actually broken skin. Okay, so basically the way Spellbook works, I have a video on this. I'll like self-plug and link it to you after, but um it's basically so you can swap sums to other sums, but the first one unlocks at 6 minutes, and then from then on, the cooldown reduces every time you swap. So yeah, you get your first swap at 6 minutes, and then your next one's gonna be at well, I guess like 10 like 10:35 I think it is, and then keeps reducing by 25 seconds. So eventually I think it goes down to at the lowest it's like a minute and a half cooldown or something, so you can swap sums like really often. So if I just like skip through to 6 minutes, take a little bit. Oh wait, there's a fast forward 10 minutes. Maybe I should, well, no, I'll do this.
Then you overshoot your 6.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. Okay, so basically, like whether or not you have a cooldown up, like the summoner, it's gonna let you like click on it and then you can like select a window of stuff. So like, for example, it gives you this like little arrow, and you can choose which one you want to swap. So you click on it, and then you get this like this window that pops up, and you can't choose sums that you already have, obviously. So you can't get like more of those. But basically, what it allows you to do is have like an extra combat summoner for every fight. So what you would want to do as Veigar is like, okay, let's say you you know, you've come back, you've TP'd back from base or whatever, and now we swap to say barrier because we're scared of dying to Syndra or something, right? And so now you just like have barrier here, and that little like yellow bar above it, that tells you when TP is up, basically. When that yellow bar runs out, TP will be ready. And so you just like get an extra summoner here, which is like really, really nice. And then if you fast forward, I should probably move out of the way of the creeps. If you
What do you mean that TP is ready? Like you can not
like,
miss a TP, basically?
well, it's like, you know, because I just use TP, so my TP's on cooldown, you know. But it's still cooling down while you have this sum, so it just like allows you to have more sums than other people, basically. So like, if we just like skim through this again until TP is up, like you can hold this sum for however long you want, even when TP is ready. So what we could do is like, okay, we actually have another swap ready, but what we might want to do is like, okay, let's say we're about to have a fight. So we barrier, that puts our TP on 10 seconds, and then if we wanted to, we
It
could
just
even...
goes back automatically.
Yeah, it just comes back because like the yellow bar is finished, basically. Like it's just cooling down behind it. So same thing, like if you flash, right, like 4 minutes here, and if we change this to ghost, flash will still be ready in 4 minutes, which is what this bar is. And so the way I normally use Spellbook, yeah, it's like basically I just swap my cooldowns that are down to sums that are going to help me in fights, and that way I just like always have a sum for fights. And you can sometimes even have 3. Like if you have something like let's say you take like flash ghost, like that's an option, and then you can swap to TP at level 6 for just like the TP back to lane. And then you could have like flash ghost and swap it to barrier, so you could use like flash ghost and barrier in a single team fight, which is really, really nice. And actually that's something I would maybe recommend to you, is experiment. So when you run Spellbook, you can run either like flash plus ghost and then like swap to TP, like when you like for side laning or like to TP back to lane, or you can run Spellbook with flash plus TP, and then you swap to combat summoners for fights. So it's up to you which one you want to use. This is the safer option because it's going to mean that you always have the TP when you need it, basically. And this is the greedier option. But it does pay off because it means you're going to have like ghost up a lot, which is like really, really nice. Yeah, so I'm like a big fan of that. Yeah, just like having the extra sums pretty much the whole time. I do have a video on this, so I'll link it to you because it'll be required viewing. You can call it homework.
Alright, yeah. It's actually good because otherwise I don't.
Yeah, it's a pretty confusing
It'd be
room,
hard
honestly.
to get to the. Well, plus, like, you know, if you come back for the next lesson, you have to like put it into practice.
True, yeah, true. Okay, and then for like the rest of the runes here, so a lot of these are actually really good. So like magical footwear, for example, or stopwatch, I'd probably take magical footwear. And the really nice thing about this is you don't have to buy tier 1 boots, which saves you 300 gold, so you get to your spike quicker, which is really nice. So I'm a big fan of that. And then here, personally, I like Futures Market for, again, just like getting those spikes earlier and earlier, but you could take any of these and they would be fine. I think the Cosmic, though, I think, yeah, you kind of just have to take Cosmic if you're going this, because it gives you Summoner Spell Haste, which is amazing. You just get your sums quicker. So what I would probably do is run... yeah, again, if you want to learn Spellbook, I'd run Spellbook. If you don't, run First Strike instead. And I would take this page, and then if you're in a hard matchup, I would go something like... You can either go like Second Wind Overgrowth, or you could go Bone Plating Overgrowth, like just because this is going to make you tankier. And then if you're in a free matchup, or like a matchup where you think you're going to be fine, go like Nimbus Cloak Transcendence, because Nimbus Cloak is really good with Spellbook because you're going to have lots of extra summoners. So you're just always going to be like popping summoners with that extra movement speed. So what I'll do actually is I'm going to save this, I'm going to screenshot it, and I'm going to add it to the to the notes we have here. This can be like 3D spellbook sorcery is what we'll call that. And then if you want to be like safer for lane, take resolve, and then like yeah, bone plating or second wind. This one. I will add this one too. Where'd it go? So safe spellbook resolve. And yeah, I think these will just like give you a lot more options. I would also maybe experiment with running spellbook with flash and ghost and then just swapping to TP, because at least like the way you're using TP right now, it's not getting you a lot of value. And to be honest, if you can get away with not having TP, it is really nice to have two combat summoners. It's just the scary thing is it makes your early lane like a lot harder. But yeah, so I guess like all the stuff we talked about, the runes and itemization, it was basically like starting items, rushing like Rabadon's quicker, like not stopping on the way there, and yeah, basically like spellbook optimizations. So yeah, this I expect this to be like a little confusing for you, honestly. So, you know, if you are like confused about what to run in different matchups or whatever, like feel free to just message me about it, because I even have like high rank players ask me about spellbook because it's not the most straightforward rune. But actually, let me find the video and add it to this page.
Yeah, I play a lot of normals at night with like my brother and my friends, so I'll just try it out in that because
Yeah,
it's
okay,
no
that's good.
risk.
Yeah, I'll put this spell. There you go. There you go. Okay, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here, and you know, it can be like real overwhelming because there's so much shit on here. But the way I would do it is just come down to this to work on thing and just like work on it one at a time. So be like, okay, runes and itemization. Like, what did he write about that? So come up to here, runes and items, and then just like figure out of this like which one you want to run, and just like yeah, try it out, and then see what feels better. And when you feel like you've kind of finished with that, like start working on this like next thing and pushing the moving. I feel like if you try and work on all these at once, it'll be really disastrous. It's just really hard to focus on all that at the same time. But if you do one at a time, it won't be as bad as you think.
Well, one thing, I mean, I guess a lot of those things I probably know,
Yeah,
but don't, you know. So what do you like as you tried to get better? Like, how do you actually
like
like?
improve on it, I guess.
Yeah, like, is there a way to practice it, or you just play
Hmm.
some games with that in mind?
Yeah, normally I just like play games with it in mind, but I think one thing that really like speeds it up is to like go into a replay afterwards and see if you kind of did that thing you're talking about. Like if we're talking about okay, checking to see if you have vision or not. If you're like either using metal or like using your in-game match history, if you just like go through it and you know, like where's this game that we were just watching? If you like went through it and just say skimmed through and just like went, okay, was I actually safe on these waves or not? You know, just like kind of look through it and see if you did it. Like, don't watch the whole game. Maybe just watch like the first 10 minutes on like 4 times speed and just see if you kind of like accomplish that goal. But yeah, honestly, there's not really a secret method, unfortunately. I think just playing the game with that in mind and then just like checking afterwards to see if you did it, that's probably the best way.
Yeah, okay. I do want to be like gold, but then they're always like check your replays, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I want that bad. But I think what you said is more realistic, like 4 times
Yeah, I
speed
think
for
watching the whole
pretty good.
replay is a big waste of time, especially if you low rank because you don't know what you're looking for. I would just, yeah, like open the replay and look for something very specific. Like if you, maybe even, like if you died and you're not really sure why, just go to that death and be like, oh, wait, here I was like really far up with no flash and I had no vision. And then it's like, you would realize that it's like a problem for you, you know? So yeah, try and look for specific
Okay.
stuff. But anyway, I'll copy this to you. And yeah, let me know how the spellbook thing goes and if you have questions about it later. And otherwise, I'll upload the session and link it to you. That way you can like watch it back. But yeah, otherwise I think that's pretty much everything.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, sweet. Well, good luck.
All right. Thank you.
All right,
Oh,
bye-bye.
how long should we take
Um,
before the next? Do you think? Because I did
Honestly,
that like 1 month thing.
yeah.
Well, four sessions, but I guess it doesn't have to be in a month
Nah, it
necessarily.
doesn't have to be in a month. It can be like however long you want it to be. I would just say when you feel like either you're stuck again and that you don't know what to work on, or if you feel like you've actually gotten through all of these, or if you've just like gotten good at enough of them that you don't really feel like they're big problems anymore, then we could do it again. But I would say it's better to take more time than less time, you know, because you don't want to come back and we just like repeat the same things, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say take at least a week, but you know, hey, if
Well,
you want to take like 3 months, like I'm down for that as well.
okay. All right. Well, to get through all that, to actually be good at it, probably be a long time. But I
Yeah,
think,
well, take your time anyway.
yeah. Okay.
All right, sweet.
All right. See you later then.
All right, bye bye.